Our Region's Business is sponsored by PNC for the Achiever in You. Welcome to Our Region's Business with your host, Bill Flanagan.
Today on Our Region's Business, from the federal government to corporate marketers, just who's watching you? We'll focus on the emerging field of privacy engineering and find out how big data may be a big business opportunity for our region. And along the way, we'll meet a couple of artists who intend to knit one of Pittsburgh's signature bridges this summer. But first, preserving privacy in the era of big data. Recent controversy over the NSA's collection of telephone records has put this issue front and center. It's in the news every day. Well, just how are individuals to take full advantage of the internet revolution without giving it all up to Uncle Sam and corporate data crunchers? Where Lorrie Cranor is director of the SciLab Usable Privacy and Security Laboratory at Carnegie Mellon University. And Jason Hong is an associate professor at Carnegie Mellon. And welcome. Good to have both of you.
Good to be here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Carnegie Mellon, you all are unusual because you actually, offer a master's in privacy engineering?
Yeah, it's a new program that we're just starting this fall, and we're the first university anywhere to offer this program.
Okay, so what exactly is privacy engineering?
Privacy engineering is basically a field for people who work usually for companies, helping them to design privacy into products from the beginning so that they can offer convenience and functionality but still protect privacy.
So Jason, give me a for instance.
So one good example would be smartphones. We have a lot of these kinds of apps that are collecting a lot of data about us. And right now we don't have a lot of guidelines as to what's the best way of protecting people. So a privacy engineer could help look at what are the benefits versus the potential harms, and what are the best ways of engineering these kinds of systems to help protect people, also offering useful value to people.
Well, does it get written right into the code or in the hardware of these devices then in a way to limit it, or does it happen on the back end and the way the data pours into the big corporate or government systems?
All of these things.
Really?
Yeah. So some of it is really the overall design of the system. Some of it is down to the nitty-gritty code detail.
It's a fascinating space because I think, speaking for many, many people, we love all the gadgets and we love the convenience and we love all the things we can do today that we couldn't do even 2 or 3 years ago. But at the same time, you cringe a little bit because you wonder what's happening. How much do they know about you?
Right, and I would say that's one of the fundamental trade-offs that we're seeing right now in this entire design space, which is on the one hand, we're collecting all this data and it can be used for a lot of good, a lot of benefits for humanity. But on the other hand, it can also be used for a lot of harm too, or just creep people out about what's being collected. And so, for example, if you suddenly find out that your phone or some website's been collecting a lot of data about you and you didn't expect it, that can be sort of disconcerting for a lot of individuals.
So some of this is just that literally the disclosure too. I mean, being open and honest about what data is being collected and how it's used, right?
Yeah, the disclosure is very important, and that's something we've also been looking at Carnegie Mellon as far as can we make that information like a nutrition label, a very simple thing for people to find in the same place all the time. There's also the controls are important. So people go on Facebook and other social networks and they essentially give up their own privacy. But often it's not on purpose. People don't realize the extent to which they're sharing their information. They say, oh, I only want my friends to see it. I didn't want everyone to see it. But they don't understand how to properly use the controls so that only their friends can see it.
Well, and all the attitudes are just shifting so rapidly. Facebook's a great example.
Right, so one of the best examples was when the newsfeed feature first came out of Facebook. So this is the feature where you could actually see all of your friends' status updates in one single place. It used to be that on Facebook you'd have to go to each individual friend to see what their own updates were. And when that feature was first rolled out, there's a lot of pushback against it in the community. There's even these groups on Facebook called "We Hate the Newsfeed" and we want to get rid of it.
Huh.
And nowadays, attitudes have shifted. And so I suspect that if Facebook were to take that feature away, people would get very irritated because they've gotten used to it, and they've also seen a lot of the value to being able to see all the status updates in one single place.
Because there are such benefits to some of this that go along with it. And this gets the whole realm of ethics into this. I mean, you all are engineers. I mean, Carnegie Mellon is a mega engineering school. Is this something new? I would assume you're thinking about the ethical side of this, right?
Definitely. Yeah. In all my privacy classes, we talk about values and ethics. We start off with kind of the philosophical underpinnings of privacy and talk about why privacy is important. And we get the students to think about, what does privacy mean to you? What has it meant over time? And in thinking about new developments that may be privacy invasive, we need to kind of weigh some of the values and ethics with some of the advantages and convenience and features, and try to understand, is this an ethical thing to do?
Well, what do you think are 20-somethings, are they more willing to give up privacy? I think about those of us in the baby boom generation who are all a little off-put by this, but what about the kids?
I think that's a really big open question right now, which is, if we're in this Facebook generation where they're just used to clicking on everything and just hitting OK, then in the long term, that would mean that our views on privacy will be shifting, as society overall. But on the other hand, it might also be something like where your insurance goes down at age 25. Maybe people start realizing they have a lot more to lose, or they'll also probably be more aware that things that they're saying online have consequences. It might affect them in terms of jobs or finding housing or other kinds of issues too. So I'm sort of more of an optimist. I think it's going to be more at the latter. But it's still up in the air. We're not quite sure what's going to happen.
Yeah, and we've seen in research on privacy that young people actually do still care about their privacy. They just think about things differently than adults do. For example, most young people are most concerned about privacy with respect to their parents, and you see them actively protecting their privacy.
Keep it away from the parents, but let everybody else in the world see whatever.
Right, because they're focused on what's real to them, and that's what's real to them. The presumption is that as they get older, they'll realize that their parents aren't the only threat out there.
Right, and that's one of the big challenges too in a lot of social media, that sometimes there's a lot more people than you realize can actually see what you're posting. And so, for example, if you're just talking amongst your high school friends, I know that when I was in high school, I would say things in a certain way and perhaps inappropriate if it were in a public setting. But within that small kind of setting, in that context, it might actually be appropriate. But then now we have much larger contexts. Things can be seen at different times, in different places, by lots of different people. And so these kinds of greater exposure can lead to a lot of kinds of new risks that people aren't used to.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. I heard somebody say recently, this is like the first generation in history that's not allowed to make any mistakes in their teens. Because it's all recorded. Yeah. It's all going to be there forever for everybody to look at. Fascinating stuff. So the new privacy engineering masters at Carnegie Mellon sounds like a great initiative. Great to hear something brand new, something else brand new coming, originating here in our region. Lorrie Cranor and Jason Hong from CMU. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And next up, Pittsburgh Data Works. How big data may mean a big opportunity for our region. Stay with us.